the news just came out that Jordan Love, the Green Bay Packers quarterback, is planning on holding out of training camp in order to try and work on a long-term deal between him and the Packers. Love was really, for the first time, despite being drafted years ago in 2020, he got his first time to shine in his third season with the Packers, and after a little bit of a bumpy start, he was able to put it all together and produce a very nice season. 4,100 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and he led a very young Packers team to a surprise playoff appearance and then even a win over the Dallas Cowboys. And I think there is a, further debate if you want to start to go hypotheticals. Jordan Love was good for a lot of that divisional round game against the 49ers as well. Ultimately, the offense slowed up. His inexperience kicked in a little bit. He had the game-sealing interception that odds were stacked against him at that point anyways. A lot of people point to that play as sort of, making almost more of it than it really is, but Love has a lot of promise, and I'm not the only one saying that, of course. That is kind of the common consensus around the NFL headed into next year. If you tune into any ESPN segments on, MVP, even MVP conversations or who you would take to build your franchise around, there is a lot of love for Jordan Love, and it's for good reason. And because of that, Jordan is trying to go out and secure a long-term deal, because as much as it's nice to get the respect, it's all about the money at the end of the day when you're playing in this. Jordan Love took a very team-friendly contract extension last offseason, and now his chance, after everything that he feels like he went out and put out on the field, that the Packers should pay him big-time money. Now, I don't know the specifics in terms of what the negotiations have looked like up to this point. There have been conflicting reports on where things stand in terms of the contract negotiation. CBS Sports just yesterday posted an article about how the sides are not close. Packers general manager spoke out about how they are actually closer than people think. So, not exactly sure there. You have to imagine that the price is going to be around that $50 million a year mark. That's what Jared Goff just got. Trevor Lawrence a little higher than that, but Love is probably somewhere in the middle of those two marks if you want to look into the Trevor Lawrence and the Jared Goff contract specifically, because the reality is Trevor Lawrence was, known to be the best prospect coming into the NFL since Andrew Luck. At the time he was drafted in 2021, he was the consensus number 1 overall pick, and he has shown flashes of greatness. Now, you can argue amongst yourselves in the comment section right now about who is the better quarterback, Trevor Lawrence or Jordan Love. I personally would go probably with Trevor Lawrence at this point, but, I can also very much hear out a conversation for Jordan Love on the other side as well. But I feel like a little bit when you're talking about the overall body of work here, Jordan Love was very successful in his first full year of playing, but that was at the age of 25 with 2 years in the league, granted backing up Aaron Rodgers, but he had a couple years of NFL experience to at least some degree already under his belt, and he had all the advantages of being in the NFL and learning, but the rest of the NFL hasn't yet had time to adjust to him, Jordan Love, in terms of making the adjustments, learning his tendencies and his weaknesses as a part of that. So we haven't really seen that adaptation part of Jordan Love's game just yet. Now, again, I'm very positive based off of what we saw last season, but there isn't, this massive body of work like even Trevor Lawrence, where it's, to be fair, he has won just as many playoff games as Jordan Love has in, a similar time frame. Trevor Lawrence has more starts than Jordan Love does at this point, but I think that Love, as much as you can be very positive on him, and I am choosing to be, I don't think it would be the most shocking thing in the world in terms of if he did have some serious regression this upcoming year, as other defenses actually have a full offseason to game plan against him. It's not going to be as easy for him next season. And that being said, what I'm so encouraged with about Jordan Love is the fact that he was able to, sort of in a similar sense to CJ Stroud last year, have a lot of success without one of those top tier wide receiver one options. Where you look at the weapons that were around Love last season, it's a lot of draft picks from the past couple of years, and none of them even being top 10 picks, but you get your second rounders and Christian Watson and Jaden Reed. Luke Musgrave, I want to say, was a second round pick, maybe a third round pick, but you just go across the receiving leaders for the Packers last season, and you are having a lot of players that haven't necessarily fully established themselves in the league, but Jordan Love did just such a good job of spreading the ball around and, making the most of the opportunities. And, there wasn't even a single wide receiver above 800 yards on the year, but Jordan Love was able to still throw 4,100 in his first season of being a starter. So I have a lot of confidence in Jordan Love long term. The reality is, when you're talking about paying quarterbacks, you're kind of just paying the rate that is available. It's either you're matching what the market currently is, or you are playing it out and you're not giving out the contract. That's what we're seeing currently going on with Tua Tagovailoa. He's asking for what the market value for starting quarterbacks is going for right now. The Dolphins aren't willing to give him that $50 million a year mark, and so instead the two parties are just sort of playing this out and seeing how it goes. Now, if I'm the Packers, again, would I feel better about having a little bit more security, seeing how he performs early on in this year? Yes, but at the same time, you kind of just have to do the deal, I feel like. And I think it just sets a precedent for this young locker room. Again, while there is a lot of turnover that's taken place over the past couple of years, as long as LaFleur is on the same page with Jordan Love and he has confidence in him, I feel like it's just a deal that they are going to have to bite the bullet on to some degree. And I say bite the bullet as if it is some sort of a negative. There's a chance that, Jordan Love does turn into everything we've been hyping him up to be this offseason, and he has a ton of success. But I also do understand a little bit of hesitations from the perspective of the Packers. We see a lot of these contracts get handed out after career years, and they don't age all so well. You can look at Daniel Jones just a couple off seasons ago, where it was somebody who, and by no means are any of the circumstances really the same with Daniel Jones and Jordan Love. Outside of the fact that I believe they were in the same, they weren't even in the same draft class. Daniel Jones was 2019, so age-wise a little bit, but Daniel Jones, he had his 1 year in 2022, and that's what got him paid. And the difference there, I think, is that we had seen Daniel Jones for a few years and we already weren't really sold on him. That when he had this one good year and the Giants had a good amount of success winning a playoff game, that they were sort of pigeonholed into taking that, big money swing. With Jordan Love, almost the unknown is what scares you more than anything else. But, they have had the ability to scout him within their own organization for a couple of years, and I feel like they're probably going to end up on a deal with relatively little trouble getting in the way. Packers are at a point where, yes, they are still extremely young, and they overachieved last year. Their expectations shouldn't be, winning a Super Bowl this year, but you still kind of feel like with how open that NFC is, that they have a very good chance. Again, just to sort of come full circle here, when you dive into the hypothetical of, what happens, the Carlson ends up missing the kick for the Packers that was late in that game, which was a disaster for them. If the Packers hold on to beat the 49ers in that game, that I think in general they outplayed San Francisco. They have the division rivals in their own, in the Lions, who are also, they had higher expectations coming into the year, but also still, largely unproven. The Lions, I believe, did they win 9 games in 2022? It was something along those lines. So, I think that ultimately the Packers can envision a world where they could have easily made the Super Bowl last year, which is crazy to think because they also very easily could have been a bottom of the barrel team. But they're going to continue to invest, I think, in the infrastructure that got them as far as they did last season. And I don't foresee any massive issues in terms of Jordan Love and the Packers. But also, that being said, for Love, I'm probably doing whatever I can to get this contract this year, understanding what the going rate for quarterbacks are right now. Took a team-friendly deal last offseason. It's time for you to go and get paid, and I do think that that's what's going to happen by the time that the season starts. But let me know whether or not you have any other concerns with Jordan Love or with the contract negotiation process. But we're going to be taking our first break of the show now. When we come back on the other side, we're going to be diving into the Cincinnati Bengals season preview as we continue to do so for all 32 teams. So we will be back talking about whether or not there are concerns with Joe Burrow's health headed into another season, if some of the stars that requested trades from them this offseason are going to end up getting moved, and ultimately breaking down their schedule and predicting their record. So we are going to dive into all of that. Stick with us. We will be right back.